Hello everyone and welcome to Horizon Dashboard tutorial on Neutron. In this tutorial, we'll be studying about how to use the concepts and features of Neutron service in OpenStack using the Horizon Dashboard. As a part of this tutorial, we'll be learning about public networks, private networks, creating subnets, routers, interfaces, port reservation, DHCP agents, security groups, and managing security rules. We assume that you have a basic understanding of OpenStack and its services. You can refer to our previous videos to get an understanding of OpenStack. Neutron is OpenStack's networking service. If you want to be familiar with pretty much everything related to networking in OpenStack, knowing Neutron is all you need. Neutron is built to deliver networking as a service in cloud environment. It enables you to create and manage network objects which include but are not limited to networks, subnets, and ports that other services of OpenStack can use. It also provides networking API to help you define networking connections in your cloud. You can configure and manage diverse networking services ranging from L3 forwarding to NAT, etc. You can also create multiple private networks and control their networking. One of the major consumer of Neutron service is OpenStack Compute, which requires networking connections for instances. It is important to have a basic understanding of Neutron as it is often needed in industry while dealing with requirements like efficient operation in heterogeneous environments. It is adopted by many prominent networking suppliers such as Arista, Brocade Communications Systems, Hewlett-Packard, Cisco, etc. Now let's dig on to hands-on ways to implement features from Neutron. Access the Horizon dashboard, type the IP address of machine in any of your browsers, and enter the credentials for logging in. We will be logging in as admin. As an admin for Neutron, on the left-hand side, you have an additional tab called Admin tab. So for a normal user, you would only see a project tab and identity. But as an admin user, you have an additional tab called Admin tab. And when you click on Admin tab, you have system information. And when you click on system category, you see networks, routers. You also see this under projects, but there are special privileges you get as an admin. When you click on networks, you can basically see every project. So as a user, you would only see your project and your network and subnets associated with it. But as an admin, you see every project on the system, every network and subnets associated with them, DHCP agents, shared or not, status and admin state. And you also have actions such as editing the network, creating a new network, or deleting a network, which we will be seeing on in our tutorial further on. But these are additional features that you can control every project as an admin. Then you have router information. And in routers, again, you can delete router. Here you cannot create a router. You have to go under the project, which we will be discussing later on in our tutorial. But you can select the name of a router, and irrespective of which project it belongs to, it can belong to demo project or any other user project, but you can delete them as an admin. You have the special privileges to delete routers irrespective of which project it belongs to. So these are the special privileges you have as an admin user for Neutron. Click on Project, and under Project, go to Networks tab, and under Networks, click on Network. Here you see the networks, the name of network, subnets associated, shared or not, status, and admin state. Let's go ahead and create a network. Write a name for the network. We will just write test network. Then admin state can be up or down. It's what state you want the network to be created in. Go ahead and click on Next. This option is for creating a subnet. If you don't want to create a subnet in the first step, then just go back and uncheck the option for create subnet. Then you only create a network with no subnet. But I'm going to show you how to create a subnet. So go ahead and click on create subnet and then next. You can define a subnetwork for it by creating a subnet You can create a network without creating a subnet, but if you don't specify a subnet, you won't be able to attach the network to an instance. Subnets help you define and differentiate different areas of your network for purposes such as security and broadcasting and etc. So through subnetting, networks can be organized more clearly, specifically in case of large networks. Go ahead and write a name for your subnet. We'll say test subnet. After giving it a name, select the network address, which has to be in CIDR format. And now select which IP version you want. So this provides an identification and location system for computers on networks, and it's also used for routing traffic across internet. There's an option at the bottom to disable gateway. If you have a gateway and if you have a network, it will be routed, but you can disable that as well. By default, the gateway of the IP will be the first usable IP. Click on Next. And you see a page with the subnet details. You can select if you want DHCP, which is typically implementing a Linux DNS mask service, as well as the DNS names that you may want to use in case you are using DHCP, and host routes, which will be supplied by DHCP for individual hosts. After you're done providing all the details, go ahead and click on Create Network button. After several seconds, you will find your network up and running with a success message. Congratulations, you've just created a network and associated a subnet with it. Now, subnetting allows you to divide areas of your network out, but how can we make them communicate with each other? By installing layer 3 switch or a router. With the help of router, the subnets can essentially talk to each other. So let's go ahead and create routers. Under the Networks tab, in Project, click on Routers category, then click on Create Router. Select a router name, an admin state, we're going to keep it up, and external network, if you want it shared to be public or not. We're going to keep it public. Create router. There, you have a router running. Now, a network interface is a point of interconnection between an instance and a public or private network. You can add a networking interface to an instance in OpenStack after launching the instance. After creating a router, you can connect it to a private network. Click on the name of the router you want to configure in the Routers tab. Our router was Test Router. And just click on Router Details page. You will see a Router Details page. Click on the Interfaces tab, then click on Add Interface. By default, OpenStack Networking uses the first host IP address in the subnet. You can change this default by setting up an IP address for the router interface for the selected subnet. I have selected my previously made subnet named Test Subnet. Note that router name and router ID fields are automatically updated. After giving details, click on Add Interface. You can now check the new topology from Network Topology. You can see our network, router, and the connections here. Okay, now ports. Ports are critically important while dealing with ingress and egress points for data traffic. OpenStack Neutron ports are created automatically, but we can also independently create them if needed. They are realized on the underlying hypervisor using interfaces. They play an important role in Neutron as they are not only associated with entry or exit points for data traffic, but also with configurations such as interface and IP addresses. Only the admin can create and manage ports. The admin tab in the left-hand side, go to Networks. Click on the network name that you want to create ports in. We're going to select the same network we just created. Here, scroll down, near ports, click on Create Ports. Now this will take you to a configuration page for creating port. Specify the port name to identify the port. If you specify the device ID to be attached, the device specified will be attached to the port created. You can then define device owner attached to the port. Binding host option defines the ID of the host where the port is located. Binding VNIC type in this field, select the VNIC type that is bound to the Neutron port. I'm just going to select normal. After populating the fields, click on Create Port. You can now see the newly created port in the ports list. Now let's go to security groups. On the left-hand side, on the Project tab, under Compute, go to Access and Security. Now, OpenStack documentation describes security groups as sets of IP filter rules that are applied to an instance's networking. They are project-specific, and project members can edit the default rules for their group and add new rule sets. All projects have a default security group which is applied to instances that have no other security group defined. Unless changed, this security group denies all incoming traffic. Now, to create security group, go to Project, Access Category, click on Create Security Group button. Enter the name for your security group and an optional description for your group. Now click on Create Security Group. Now you can see your security group in the list of security groups. You can also edit or add rules to this group by clicking on Manage Rules. This will direct you to the Manage Security Group Rules for your security groups page. By default, all ports are opened for outbound connections and no inbound connections are allowed. Click on Add Rule on top of the screen. Now here you can configure Add Custom Rules to your security group. You can select from the drop-down menu. You can specify the desired rule template or use custom rules, custom TCP rules, UDP rules, ICMP rules, etc. Select the direction of traffic as ingress or egress, open port or port ranges. For TCP and UDP rules, you can choose to open either a single port or a range of ports. Selecting the port range option will provide you with space to provide both the starting and ending ports of the range. For ICMP rules, you can instead specify a type and code in the spaces provided. We're just going to select port 1. Remote. You must either specify, you can specify the source of the traffic to be allowed via this rule. You may do so either in the form of an IP address block, CIDR, or via a source group or security group. Selecting a security group as the source will allow any other instance in that security group access to any other instance via this rule. After configuring, click on Add. Success message in green, so you will now see your added rule on the Refresh Security Group page. In this tutorial, you have studied how to use Neutron's networking services using OpenStack's Horizon dashboard. I hope this was informative. You can check out our other videos on Horizon dashboard for Keystone, Glance, Nova, Cinder, and Swift as well. Thank you.